What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show. I'm wearing green in honor of the Oakland Athletics and the sweep over them. And finally, the Yankees never have to play in the Oakland Coliseum again. But I actually have, if Hal Steinbrenner wanted to go next level, and because the Yankees are going to have a bye, Scott, in the first round of the playoffs. So this is what he should do. He knows the Oakland Athletics, their owner, is just desperate for some money. He should offer them money to be a tune-up that week for the Yankees that they're off, fly them into New York, and just have the Yankees batter the Oakland Athletics for 4 straight days just to stay in game shape and get their confidence at an all-time high so they can be ready for the ALDS when it rolls around.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. You get a team that struggles against left-handed pitching, and then JP Sears, who is, they called, what did he call? They called him the workhorse of the staff. I think at one point when I heard 11-11, 4.5 ERA. Like, the guy's out there just throwing every time his name is called. But the Yankees hit him. So you're trying to get some confidence against left-handed pitting.
Get one of the worst lefties in the league.
Yeah. And then you at least feel good about that. No, yeah. It's not a terrible idea. They need to be able to tune up. In those off days.
That's what I'm saying.
That said, the more I'm thinking about the New York Yankees and how up and down they have been, the more I'm prioritizing every healthy body that can possibly come to the plate in that first playoff game. That's really what I'm looking at, because I don't know even if playing the week before is a helpful matter for the Yankees, but health with this team, I think is paramount. So,
well, you're talking about on the offensive side, they're pretty healthy, as healthy as they've been all year.
100%, knocking on wood. I've just said that's what I'm prioritizing. Besides, like, coming into the game or that series hot, I don't think that matters as much because they've been all over the place with the way that they've been playing. I don't think it matters. You getting a Yankees team that's coming in hot could, like, get cold immediately. You know what I mean? Like, they could immediately freeze. We've seen no consistency with how they're playing. So I just need rest. If I have rest, I believe that their bodies will be able to play to their talent as high of a percentage as possible. And I think that's their best chance to win.
What do we think the week off looks like? The Yankees have had it before. We've got some numbers we'll talk about in a second. Actually, why don't I just mention them now? Because we're talking about this. We're going to, guys, if for anyone who tuned in, like, I just want to hear about the positives and negatives from the Oakland Athletics series. Like, don't worry. We'll get to that. You can fast forward if you're really eager to hear it. But we pulled some numbers on overall teams that have had the bye. When they're in the division series, obviously you get a bye to the division series. Teams are 3-5 collectively going into that. So there is some semblance of baseball. You take a week off. You're not going to be as sharp as if you play every day. You also get momentum in baseball. A team that's just sort of riding the high of maybe scraping into the playoffs, winning a close wild card series, and they're like, screw it, let's just get on the plane. Let's go. That kind of mentality can carry you through against a team, even if that team is better on paper, who hasn't played in 5 or 6 days.
I think that matters more in a 3-game set, or if, when they were doing the wild card 1 game, I think that matters more at that point. But with the team like the Yankees, and I have to take context in the situation with a grain of salt, the 3-5, yes, it clearly states that if you're off for that long, you have a losing record. That said, the talent of the New York Yankees compared to everybody else, like, I just need them rested. I think in this individual case, them coming in hot means nothing.
Yeah, the Yankees could have 2, 3, 4 weeks off. They should beat any team that they play in that division series.
But the Detroit Tigers coming in hot, now all of a sudden you believe that you can do something, whereas before you didn't believe it, and maybe that makes a little bit of a difference. So I mean, I think in the shorter series, I think that's a more of a potential game changer than you get with 5 or 7 games.
5 is a short series.
Of course it is. It's not 7. But it's not 3.
But we've discussed the team who wins the first game of a 3-game series has never lost the 3-game series.
Yeah. So you come in with momentum and you win that first game and you're in a good spot.
It's just funny that effectively I know MLB did away with the 1-game wild card, but it's still whoever wins the first game wins. So it's still a 1-game wild card.
Yeah. Well, at least you have an opportunity to
I know this is the opportunity. And we've talked about, maybe you have to, the lower seed needs to win the 2 games, whereas the higher seed just wins the 1 game. Remember we talked about that briefly?
Not really.
That's Korea
But-
does that, I think.
I don't know. It gives you the opportunity. You're in the dance. Never know what happens, right? It's just a tournament. Never know what happens. Just get yourself into that tournament.
Well, then the Yankees analytics department should be shaking in their boots if they believe that. If they get a hot Detroit Tigers team coming into the Bronx that have been rolling, theoretically just won their first playoff series against, it would be Baltimore in this case, or wild card team number 1 in this case, and then the Yankees are sitting there with 6 days off, the analytics department should be like, well, we're both in the
screwed.
dance. Oh, our ticket, we both have the same ticket. It's both a yellow ticket. What do we do? Oh, no.
They have AJ Hinch. What? There's something happening over there. Yeah. No, I mean, I think the Tigers are interesting because of that, because of a team that plays, with reckless abandon at this point, that does, believes that they could have a chip on their shoulder. Like nobody thinks we should be here. We shouldn't be here. So we're just going to go and we're going to play with nothing to lose. And I think when you play with nothing to lose, you're a dangerous team.
Logan, what is the Yankees' record this year against the Tigers? I know they lost the series most recently when the last game was at the Little League, right? That was against the Tigers. They lost that series, but I don't remember what happened when the Tigers played at Yankee Stadium earlier in the year. But
every time I think about the Tigers, I think about Garrett Cole's start in Detroit
2 or 3 years ago. No, it's like 3 years ago.
That's all I think about.
They got 4-2, so they must have swept them when they came to Yankee Stadium.
And they lost 2 out of 3 when they played in Detroit / in Little League territory.
Yeah. See, again, they're riding that Little League momentum. That's what they're basically just doing the Little League mentality at that point. Nothing to lose.
Quick pop quiz for you, Scott. What division do the Tigers play in?
I know what division they play. It doesn't matter once you hit the playoffs.
For the Yankees, it does, because that's who they win all their playoff series against.
They play in a division that is producing 3 playoff teams. That's the division.
It's like it's like that random division in football that ends up producing 3 playoff teams because they all go 9-8.
Yeah, it's like the Bucks and then the anybody else who
the Saints.
Yeah, they win the division and they win the wild card because they sneak in.
Yeah, and then they lose by 33 points in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, or they go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl in a year like that with a guy named Tom Brady.
Oh, that's different. Okay,
well, I'm just saying
that
happened. That happened.
Well, are the Dodgers lending Shohei Ohtani to the Tigers for the playoff run?
Oh,
is
that
that happening?
Tom Brady is Shohei Ohtani? No, this is a different scenario. But I don't know. Maybe there's someone on Detroit that's gonna put that whole city on their back. And,
it's not. Well, that's just it's not as easy to do in baseball.
It's harder to do in baseball, no doubt about it.
So we were also talking about the wild card and what's going to happen over the next 6 or 7 days, because even though the Yankees' magic number to clinch the division is 1, as they are going to be playing Baltimore this week, and then to win the number 1 seed in the league is, what did we say, 2? Or is it 3?
3.
Oh,
it's 3.
3 games. They need to win 3 more games and then they clinch the number 1 seed over Cleveland. There's a lot that can happen as far as
magic number's at 3, so Cleveland could lose games and affect that number as well.
Okay, sure. What other combinations could happen, Scott?
Plenty of combinations. The wild card right now is just as you mentioned, the AL Central is wild card. It's with you throw in the Mariners there, and it's all coming down to this last week. And yeah, Detroit has actually completely closed the gap and are now in there, and Kansas City and Minnesota are kind of reeling. So it's just interesting to look at who could play who, and when you're lining up how the Yankees and the Astros will eventually play each other, it is mixing and matching those AL Central teams in the wild card position. But
you've got Baltimore, who's clearly going to get the number, even though Baltimore has been tanking the entire second half. They have a healthy lead.
Tip of the cap to the Baltimore Orioles. This series, I can't believe, means absolutely nothing at this point.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah,
tip of the cap. Like the fact that the Yankees are in this position, a lot of that has to do with the Baltimore Orioles just completely giving away the division, giving away the last month of baseball. It's just a bad job all around over there. But I appreciate.
Also, a little disappointing because if you're the Yankees, you could use some highly competitive games this week to prepare for the playoffs in a couple weeks.
I'm going to go back to my first statement. I just want health. The competitive at bats, we can get them when the playoffs start. I'm not too worried about that because you still have to play the Pittsburgh Pirates in the last series, which, what is that? Is that really going to be competitive at that point? Maybe we see Paul Skeens.
I was going to say, you might see one of the filthiest pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, well, I would, again, they've seen him before. So, shit, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm shutting that guy down once the season's over and just coming back with a fresh start.
But because you've got Baltimore with a healthy lead in the number one spot in the wild card, you essentially have 4 teams vying for the final 2 spots. Kansas City, Detroit, the Mariners, and the Twins are all vying for that last spot. There's a bunch of different tiebreaker combinations. Unfortunately, unlike in previous years, there's no game 163 or a single elimination tiebreaker. Because they expanded the playoffs, they said, well, we're not going to also do a tiebreaker at that point. There's many sort of permutations of who will win depending on season series and then some other things that will factor it. But you could get chaos in these next final 2 series as all of these 4 teams are vying for these 2 spots.
Yeah. Permutation, huh? Look at that. Pulling out the thesaurus this morning, getting some big words in there. Yeah. I'm still looking it up to figure out what it means. I'm using context, but
I think it just means.
I think it's the biggest word you've ever used on this podcast.
Doesn't it just? Now I'm like, then you're like, define it, Andrew. And I'm like, well, shit.
I don't know. It's like I just heard it somewhere. I think I might have read it.
It means like different ways something can happen.
Yeah, that's what I assumed it meant. Yeah. So we're gonna go with that. But yeah, no, I'm excited because I think that the AL Central. You've mentioned this 1,000 times in the past. They scare you absolutely zero amount. They don't scare you, the AL Central, which I'm on the other side. I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop for something bad to happen, especially against the Minnesota Twins, because they've been such a punching bag for such a long time. But when I see a hot young team coming in like the Detroit Tigers or the Kansas City Royals, that have a lot of, they've got some veterans. They have some very good youthful talent. That type of shit scares me, because when you are a young and talented team and you're playing with nothing to lose, I don't like that. I don't like it when that's like a crazy person. Crazy people have nothing to lose.
Well, so it sounds like then you're going to be that you could say that about no matter what team the Yankees end up facing in the first round. You're going to be able to say that
in their first round. Yeah, you could. Yes, you could.
Whoever the Yankees host,
the Detroit Tigers are the ones, to me.
Why would you not say that about the Kansas City Royals or the Mariners if they squeak in, or the Twins? My God, if the Yankees end up playing the Twins in the division series, that would be kind of funny though.
Because Kansas City's has. I did just lump Kansas City into that, so I do count Kansas City into there. But Detroit has essentially ascended from the rafters and put themselves in this conversation within the last 3 weeks of baseball. So I think they're on a different level at this point. The Mariners, the Mariners have been in this situation. It seems like every single year they're like, maybe we'll get the playoffs. Maybe we'll get the division. I don't know what we are. The Mariners have been in limbo for a very long time, and they've tried to go over the top, and they just haven't been able to do it. The Detroit Tigers, not one person, no one's expecting them.
Yeah, you know who you said that about? We said that about the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. They went to the World Series.
100%.
And then you said that about the Philadelphia Phillies the year before. Even though the Phillies had a boatload of talent on that roster, and then once they were in the playoffs and playing well, you're like, oh yeah, of course that makes sense. Look at all this talent on the roster. Joe Girardi got fired in the middle of that season, and that team was like 500, and they took off in the second half of and so you kind of get that with the expanded playoffs. You open up these possibilities, and I know that's what baseball wants. Not to go down a rabbit hole here, but it's like, is that sort of counterintuitive to a 162 game season? Yes, it is entirely counterintuitive, but it does.
But it also makes you look at that 162 game season and say, okay, every game does matter because it's coming down to the last, however many games, and you have new teams that are ascending to the top. So don't take that last month off. Don't get cold in that last month. It's a marathon.
But rewind you don't even have to go back that far. Go back to to 2013, and all of those teams we just mentioned, Detroit, the Twins, the Royals, the Mariners, they're not in the playoffs. They're not. They're barely sniffing at this point. They're like, we have to win out, and Baltimore has to lose out, and then maybe we'll get in. Because Baltimore has, a 5-game lead at this point for the wild card?
Yeah. So, but what's your point? Because that is exactly what Major League Baseball wants.
I know. My point is the expanded playoffs, making it so you get those extra 2 wild card spots, creates these scenarios in which you get teams that for the majority of the season were not playoff caliber teams. They were not playing. They didn't have a good enough record to be considered a playoff team. And you get hot. How long is it? What is it? Is it? It's really like literally 2 or 3 weeks that the Tigers have been a hot team, right? I know they were hanging around throughout the season.
Well, that's the thing, that division, and this speaks to...
No, you can't say that. I mean, the division
the parity
has been
of the
over.
league.
The division has been Cleveland has 90 wins, okay? That Cleveland has had that division locked up.
I'm saying the parity of the league is what I meant.
Yeah.
The fact that every team, there's not, multiple dominant teams in the league. You're allowing all of these other teams to hang around. And in a 162 game season, if you're allowing, teams on the fringe to hang around, then yeah, they could take advantage of that last month. And all of a sudden you're whittling it down to a 30 game subset of how they close the season, or how healthy a team, or if you're getting someone back. Like it does still, you still have to consider the entire season. I understand that it doesn't show exactly the full length and the breadth of the full season when you have a team like Detroit that surges at the end, but it shows you what you can do if you stay around and you maintain, and then all of a sudden you do get hot in the last month. You can ascend, which I think is a good thing, because then you're getting hope for a lot of these other fan bases. And that is exactly how Major League Baseball, baseball's done a lot of bad things in the way that they've changed and the way that they've tweaked the game. I don't think this is necessarily bad. I think it does element fun. I could yell at the clouds and say some things, but it would really just be that. I think it does make more excitement overall. And then the individual rules that they've made, like, I think that they're tinkering in good ways recently. But I think it's fun. Like, having a team like the Detroit Tigers in there that no one expects, I think is a fun thing.
So listen, I don't honestly love the way the current baseball playoffs are set up. I think giving buys to the first couple teams sort of defeats the everyday nature of baseball. And we just ran the numbers. I know the Yankees won their series when they had a bye back in 2022, but overall the numbers have said having a bye is not a good thing. Okay, so that's the first thing I don't like. The second thing I don't like is the expanded playoffs sort of diminishes the 162 game marathon. I'm not saying it should go way back to olden times where it's literally just the team who has the best record in each league plays for the World Series. No, of course you want some sort of playoff format and a bracket format in each league. But I think if you're going to have these expanded playoffs and then 3-game series that then go on to 5-game series, why do you need 162 games? And I know you're never going to get rid of regular season games because they're never going to take that revenue out of the sport, but you don't need 162 games if you're going to have your playoffs set up that way. Now, if you want to still have the expanded playoffs, why not just have it 1-game wild cards? For whoever wins the wild cards, you get 1 game to move on to the next thing. And then that still that gives the bye teams off 2 days off, 3 days off, instead of the Yankees are going to go from Sunday to Saturday or Monday through Friday. They're not going to play for 5 days. They're not going to play. And they're going to play on Sunday and they're going to play again on Saturday, the 5th of October. Okay. And so your reward for getting the best record or the second best record in the league is a week off. I don't like it.
I think a lot of teams, if you ask the actual players, a lot of teams would say that they like that rest.
Sure, because they can get a mental break. They can take 2 days off, mental and physical break to go spend time with their family or whatever like that.
That's not it. They don't give a shit about that. They give a shit about getting themselves healthy so that they could go and play in. You don't
think some of these guys are going to go take a 2-day trip to the Florida Keys or something like that?
You think that? No, I don't. You think that they're very excited to go back and and deal with just screaming kids and the regular family like that?
None of these people are dealing with screaming kids. They've got housekeepers and nannies and everything to deal with.
Yeah, the kids still scream whether you hear them or not. They're still screaming, and you still have to
when you're rich enough, you get thick doors and thick walls. You can't hear shit.
As soon as Alex Verdugo had a kid, his entire career went to
that was because he's allergic to his batting gloves and ignored it for 3 years.
Maybe it was there was some diaper rash in there too. Some kind of a baby product was screwing with him as well. But yeah, no, I don't disagree with you in the time off, that length of time off. I understand that.
Sure.
So it's, again, Major League Baseball continuing to tweak with these. And I know I don't like the 1-game series either. Like the 1-game series, we both shit on. Like baseball's not meant to be done in one series.
Go back, check the tape. I never shit on the 1-game wild card. I was actually very consistent on this. I said, You don't want to play the 1-game wild card, win the division. that was wild card. The whole point of the wild card and having it 2 wild cards is you're like, yes, you give these teams a chance, but you penalize them for not winning the division. That was the whole point of having divisions. You win your division. You don't have to worry about a 1 game. You finish second or third or whatever those second 2 wildcard spots. Your punishment, your reward is you get a ticket to the literal dance, but it's really hard for you. And you've got to do something that's out of the norm for baseball. That part I understood.
You could make an argument that a 3-game set is actually worse because it destroys your pitching staff going into a.
Yeah, I mean I don't like the 3 games
going into the division.
I hate.
I'm saying it's more of a penalty. You could say it's more of a penalty than just the 1 game because you have to play those, and then you walk into what would be a superior talent in theory, and your pitching staff is in shambles at this point because that's what it is. After that 3-game set, your pitching staff is in shambles.
If it goes 3 games, or you win that first game and then I'm
still
sure
even 2 games, even if
sure
2 games, you're not set up.
But you get 3 days off.
It's still a significant advantage for the team waiting for you to come.
I don't think so. If you
on the pitching side,
if you sweep the wild card series, what is that? Tuesday, Wednesday? You've got Thursday, Friday off. Your bullpen is fine with 2 days off.
Yeah, more about lining up starting pitching is what I meant. But yeah, they're tinkering with stuff, and I think at some point they'll land on it. But I mean, I don't mind.
If you look at all of these, you've got, like we just said, 4 teams. There's technically 5 teams vying for 3 spots, but because the Orioles are clear in that number 1 spot. What if you have the 3 division winners and then it would be 4 wild cards that all each play a 1-game series, and then the winners go and play the division?
That's
work?
one more team. No, it's 1 more team.
So we would need how many? We would need 3. Whatever.
You would just need 2 wild cards. You would need 2 wild cards.
Okay, so that's how it was previously.
Yes, and then the wild cards play each other, and then they go, and now you start the ALDS.
Yeah.
So
start that. Yeah, I think go back. Play the wild card game on Tuesday, and then start.
But that's again eliminating a team from the playoffs at that point, and that's not what baseball has been trending to do.
I know that. I know it's never going to happen. You're eliminating them, but really you're eliminating them from 1 game. You still get the contention in the last week of the season.
Well, maybe not. Not if the first 2 are. I mean, in this year's scenario, you have the contention 3 to that 1 spot, but.
In past years, like I know when the Yankees ended up playing Oakland in 2018, the Yankees won like 103 games and Oakland won like 99 games. Well, that's the thing.
This year is weird because the AL Central never has multiple. You're not seeing a lot of the wild. No,
we thought this was going to be the AL
coming out of there.
We thought this was going to be the AL East. We thought that potentially you could see
100%.
the Rays and the Red Sox or the Blue Jays competing for the wild card spots.
That's normally what you do see, but when you have the AL Central battling it out for 3 spots, it adds a different level of interest, I think.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, whoever the Yankees play in the first round, they will be favored and they should beat handedly. But I still don't like that they're going to have a week off. That's the biggest thing. So whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, I think determines how you feel about the playoffs. But for the Yankees, I believe time off and health and rest is probably better than them coming in hot. I think it's way better than them coming in hot, actually. I think for the most part, a healthy Yankees team is a better team than anybody in the American League. So I want them healthy. If you had to poll players, if you polled every player in Major League Baseball and say, what is the ideal amount of days off between the regular season and your playoff series starting, what do you think you would get?
I think 3.
Yeah, I agree. Ends
start
on
going
Sunday,
further than that, and it's like you get rusty.
Ends on Sunday. You get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. You start on Thursday.
Yeah,
I feel like that would be the winner.
Yeah, and any type of simulation that you're going to do. I know you're joking about getting the
no,
Oakland
it's not
A's
the same. It's not the same.
It's not the same. Like you could bring the AAA team up and have a sim game, but it's just
you're
going through the motions.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's a scrimmage.
It's batting practice. You're taking glorified batting practice.
Yeah. So.
All right, we're going to do some positives and negatives from the Oakland series, but first, if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that congestion is the worst. Maybe you have a cold or just allergies. It's the fall is actually, it's officially fall. Weather's getting cooler, so you could be Feeling those effects of congestion, it can affect your sleep, your breathing, and it makes it hard to focus and generally puts you in a bad mood. We have a great product to tell you about if you're suffering from congestion called Navage Nasal Care. Navage makes breathing easier. Navage uses smooth saline flow and gentle patented nasal suction to clear your nasal passages. Navage is drug-free and uses 99.9% pure saline salt pods with no medicinal side effects. It's very easy to use. You hold it up to your nose, you press start, and it can work in as little as 30 seconds. With, like I said, the weather turning, maybe you've got young kids in daycare like I do, there's always a cold or a virus going around. Having something that can clear out your sinuses so you can sleep better, which also keeps you healthier, has been very, very clutch for me. I love this product, and I know you will too. Our listeners right now can get a convenient Navage starter pack, including a nose cleaner with batteries and 30 original salt pods. Plus, you get a cleaning kit as a free gift with your order by going to navage.com/Bronx and using our promo code Bronx. Navage.com/Bronx, promo code Bronx for that starter pack plus free cleaning kit. Navage is spelled Navage. Navage.com/Bronx, promo code Bronx. We're also brought to you by Factor Meals. Eating healthy and nutritious meals can be a difficult task, especially when you have a lot of things to juggle. And going to the grocery store, shopping, cooking, that can all just take a lot of time. That's where Factor Meals comes in to save the day. With Factor, you get no prep, no mess meals delivered right to you. You can also stick to your wellness goals because their meals are nutritious and dietitian approved. You go on their website and choose from over 35 delicious meals each week. You can customize your deliveries with 60 different add-ons. Highly skilled chefs prepare your food and it's delivered to you. Heating the meals up takes just 2 minutes, and then there's no mess or anything to clean up. All of Factor's meals are fresh and never frozen, and they have options from breakfast to dessert and everything in between. With, like I said, with this fall weather around, I just ordered some new Factor meals. I've got that chorizo chili, which is absolutely my favorite from them. There's something about a fall day or a winter day in chili. Those things go together like a PB&J or something like that. They just fit. We've got a great offer for you. Factormeals.com/Bronx50 and use code Bronx50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. It's a great deal. 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month if you go to factormeals.com/Bronx50 right now. Okay. Positives from the Oakland series, because there were some. Obviously, you sweep. There's going to be some positives. Anthony Volpe, hello. He's like
starting to come back.
I remember you said last episode or 2 episodes ago, hey, you never know. You might get a hot streak out of Anthony Volpe in the playoffs because he can go on those. And they don't last very long, but you might get one. Hopefully, if he's on a hot streak right now, it doesn't end this weekend coming up against Pittsburgh, and he can ride it into a playoff series. Is he an X factor for the playoffs? I have no idea what he's going to be. Offensively, he's been so lost for a majority of the season, but he did go 3 for 4 on Friday. He hit a home run on Saturday, and they got another hit on Sunday. So, hey, maybe.
I mean, all you want is positive signs, right, at this point. But yeah, Anthony Volpe's the kind of guy that could get very much cooled off by a 5-game off day. But you know what's funny is that I feel like every time he's sat and then come back, he's had a good
When
stretch.
has he ever sat?
Well, the All-Star break.
Okay. I thought you meant
Okay, and then
I
he
thought
came
you
back.
meant like pulled from the lineup.
And then most recently Cabrera got the start at short, came
And
back.
he got pinch hit for. Volpe got pinch hit for
Yeah,
in the ninth inning.
and he came and he's
Hold
been
on,
good since then.
Is this another example of
Accountability?
where, maybe I don't just have the job no matter how sucky I am?
Yeah. Or just, a young 23-year-old kid needing a mental off day or a couple of days just to regroup his thoughts and stop pressing so goddamn much. Maybe. So 5 days off for Anthony Volpe. If we're resetting the clock here and just looking at what he did with a long period off, we're going back to the beginning of the season, and he was the best Anthony Volpe we've ever seen. So maybe that's the guy we get.
Hey, it could happen. It's so funny to hear you say he's just a young 23-year-old, and I'm like, Juan Soto's 25.
He's an old 25. He's like a grandpa. The fact that guy's 25 blows my mind.
It's crazy. Yeah, Logan.
It also coincides with they pinch hit for him for the first time. One of the games in Seattle.
Didn't I say that? Did I say
Yeah.
that?
Did you say that? I didn't hear you say that. And that was
Yeah, they in the 9th inning of
Like
I think the last game of the
accountability
series. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but yeah, they just
No,
It's a
it
big
was
deal.
it was last week in Seattle. I think it was that Wednesday day game or Thursday day game, whenever that was. That last game of the Seattle series. It was a 1-run game in the 9th inning, and he got pinch hit for Oswaldo Cabrera. And we're like, Oswaldo Cabrera, like when excuse me, it's not like Oswaldo Cabrera is some crazy bat coming off the bench here. He's
Right.
But there's more pop there, and it's a indication of like, hey, this is what should be happening.
it's an
in times when
indication
you're
of
not
how
able to hit.
bad it's an indication of how bad Volpe had been.
Yeah, so I think again going back to the time off for Anthony Volpe, not a bad thing either, because the guy clearly responds well to accountability and mental rests and physical rests and all of the above.
Well, maybe time off for this next guy who's the second positive, Gleyber Torres, who also was on base a ton this weekend. Maybe time off would not be a good thing for him because he's been on fire in September. He's in 20 games, 97 plate appearances, is hitting .330 with a .381 OBP, .466 slugging, .847 OPS, which is by far and away his best month. I mean, basically up until this point in the season, he had been below league average or league average in a couple of spurts at best. But this is better than Gleyber Torres we saw last year, which we had said was finally a consistent year from him, a good offensive year. This has been, for at least this month, much better.
Yeah, and I took just a few other glances at his numbers when you're looking at the splits to try to identify what's going on here. The eye test tells you that he's been much more of a patient hitter at the plate in that leadoff spot. And ever since he's gotten to that leadoff spot, he's been very good. And batting first, this is the whole season. So I know there's a few week span in the beginning that brings these numbers down a little bit, but 277 average, 344 on base, 741 OPS. Like the guy's been significantly better in that leadoff spot. And one of the things that, to dive even deeper, you're looking at when he does take that more patient approach, and specifically when he takes the first pitch compared to when he swings at the first pitch. When he takes the first pitch, the guy has much better splits, around 269, 352 on base, 403 slugging, 755 OPS. He kind of settles into the at bat and is able to see the ball better. I don't know what it is, but clearly when he's in that leadoff spot, he's got a different mentality, and it's
I don't know if it's the
go up there
leadoff
and
spot.
swing.
I mean,
I think that helps it.
He's just had a different mentality.
The leadoff spot
The
when you're
last
hitting in front
month,
of,
which has coincided with moving to the leadoff spot.
well, that's convenient.
I don't think it has anything to do with him hitting leadoff.
I 100% think it does. Come on now. Listen to what you're saying. He's hitting in front of Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. If you don't think that your mindset changes when you're hitting in front of those two guys, you're crazy. It absolutely
I don't think
does.
he has a mindset, so I don't think it's changing. I think he's just been a better hitter because he's obviously capable of being a good hitter.
He's walked a lot more.
Think
He's
about
walked a lot more. He's been on base a lot more. He's clearly taking deeper at bats.
in
So,
August.
in the leadoff spot, when you're more patient and your job is to, and that's why we always said going into the season, DJ LeMahieu and everybody wanted him, if he was a healthy guy, to go into that leadoff spot because he takes at bats. He's able to work the count. This is what Brett Gardner was good at for many years.
Yes,
as
of
Brett Gardner
course,
guy.
that's what you want out of a leadoff hitter. But in August,
It
when they
slowed
were
down his
searching,
approach.
when they were searching for a leadoff hitter, they were still putting Verdugo there for some unforeseen reason, even though he stunk.
Left-handed bat. That's the only reason.
And it was him and Gleyber sort of shuffling into that leadoff spot in, I want to say this was like early August, right? And then eventually over 2-3 week span, it was clear Verdugo's not turning anything around, and Gleyber was starting to look better at the plate. His numbers in August, 276 batting average, 363 on base percentage, 357 slugging. So even though he was still not slugging, 357 slugging is not good. 276 batting average and 363 on base is good. So you saw more consistency out of him, and then he just stuck in the leadoff spot. It's not like Boone said, "You're the leadoff guy now," and then he changed his approach. He just started to play better. He started to hit better.
Yeah, that happens when you're in front of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. So you're the fact that
But he was
you're
shuffling
dismissing the
back
fact
and
that those
forth.
two guys are there in front of him. Look at his numbers. When you look at September and August, his strikeouts are way down also. In August, he struck out 18 times. In
I'm
July,
not denying that he's
17
been a better
times.
hitter. What I'm saying is
He's had a more patient approach, and I think what that has done has helped him work those at bats and be less swing happy. He's walking more. He's striking out less. When you walk into that leadoff spot, you understand that your job is now a little different than it is in the 6 or 7 or 8 spot. You're trying to create something, probably pressing a little much for him. And you're right. His mentals aren't the strongest thing in the world. So if you insert him into a position where you're saying, look, man, you don't be so swing happy. I want you to sit on pitches. Take pitches. Look at a strike if you have to at the beginning. I want you to see the ball. If you see the ball and you are more patient, you become a better hitter, and you're almost forced to do that because you understand what's behind you.
Well,
you're not going to save the world when you have those two guys there. You just need to get on base.
They're going to be better pitches to hitting in front of those
and better
two guys.
pitches to be hit. 100%. So if you're,
he has in
patient,
when we see pitchers walk Glaber, you're like, what are you doing walking Glaber in front of Juan Soto and Aaron Judge?
Yeah, but that's also like to Glaber's credit, he's expecting a lot of strikes, and when he's looking and spitting on them that are outside the zone, that's him being a more disciplined and patient hitter, and that's exactly what he has been in the leadoff spot.
This is good. This is good for his free agency. Someone will offer him a 3-year contract.
Yeah, it's going to be the Yankees,
and that's will be the final time I watch a Yankees game. You will find a new co-host for next year if he is a New York Yankee next year. All right. The third positive from the series, Garrett Cole looked like Garrett Cole. Yes, it's the Oakland Athletics. I understand that. But anytime you go 9 innings at, what was the pitch count? It was like 97 pitchers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Almost pulling a Maddox if the Yankees had won. The Maddox was, I think, 9 innings, under 100 pitches. I think it was like 2 hours or 2.5 hours or less game time or something like that. It was something with the Maddox that he almost pulled there.
Efficiency. That's really what it comes down to.
You know what I saw? A cool thing. I think I saw this on Instagram. It was a clip of Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, and Javi Lopez. You remember him, catcher for the Braves?
Of course, I remember Javi Lopez.
Did you know Maddux called his own pitches?
I think I did know that. Yeah.
Well, they were saying how this is like the first time they ever talked about it, and the way he called his pitches, but he would give hand signals to the catcher based on, and he would catch the ball in different ways and do subtle things that would say what pitch I'm going to throw next, and no one ever picked up on it. If anyone ever caught that, that's like the biggest tip of all time. But based on how he received the ball back from Javi Lopez, like if he caught the ball and flipped it to his hand, that would mean one pitch. If he grabbed the ball out of his glove, that would mean another pitch. If he caught it with his glove down, that would mean one pitch. If he caught it with his glove up, that would mean one pitch. Greg Maddux was so fucking good that he could do that, call his own pitches in just how he's catching the ball, and still dominate a baseball game. It's
So
really cool.
if you're Javi Lopez and you what Maddux is going to want to throw, and you know what the sign is, and he's got to hold his glove up and catch it with it up, are you throwing the ball towards his knee?
Well, that's the thing. You also, like Javi Lopez, you got to be consistent, just like middle of the chest every single throw.
What happens when the ball gets away, which it doesn't happen often, I understand with Greg Maddux, and the umpire has to throw the ball back?
Well, maybe they had signals at that point. I didn't get that deep in the clip. But.
I don't think I heard about how they did it, but I've definitely heard stories about him calling his own.
I just thought
his
that
own
was one
game.
of the coolest things.
Yeah, those little nuanced stories are fun. But yeah, Cole was extremely efficient, and we saw him get deep into the game, obviously go to right around 100 pitches and be his dominant self. It is the Oakland Athletics, but what you're looking for is him being consistent, physically, him bouncing back from that last
Well, he
start
had to bounce
and-
back from that start against the Red
and
Sox.
going out there and showing that he's Garrett Cole. And, at the end of the day, like, who cares who the opponent is? I go back to the sense, like, I want him healthy. I want him feeling good and walking in because, he's got the ability to dominate if he's at full and peak health.
Yep, you're going to get one more start against Baltimore this week. And an interesting storyline here could be you're facing Baltimore, and then he could face in his next start Baltimore if they win their playoff series, because the Yankees would play the Orioles in the ALDS. So Cole could have back-to-back starts coming up here against Baltimore.
Yeah, so I think they'll be conservative with him in this game. Obviously,
Well,
I don't think they're going to
conservative
They'll
in
stretch
what's-
him out and with pitch count.
Yeah,
but
he's
even
gonna
if they
get-
don't, they'll get his work in out on the side if need be. Like they don't need to push him at all.
I mean, he's going to throw 100 pitches-ish, because he's also going to have 12 days off or whatever.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't think that even if he doesn't throw 100 pitches because he's got that much time off, it
he'll
doesn't
do
mean much.
bullpen. He'll do multiple bullpen sessions, and he'll probably do a sim game would that be on Tuesday of next week, which lines him up for his 5 days Saturday start.
So again, like, does it matter if he goes to 100 pitches in the game? No, I don't think so. Because you've got so much time off, and he's got all that set up to do. That's not really within a game before the first playoff start. This one, I just think they're going to be. I would not be surprised if he went 6 innings and was still in the 80 pitch count and they pulled him. Would not be surprised. Yeah. And in fact, I want them to don't risk any goddamn thing. If you're in the 6th inning and he's got 80 some pitches, just pull him. Who cares?
Baltimore, I don't think he's faced Baltimore this year. I know he was injured a bunch. I don't know if he's pitched against Baltimore this year. And last year he won the Cy Young, so he dominated everybody. But I do think Baltimore kind of hit him last year. Like his few starts where he actually got hit last year, I think it was Baltimore. Obviously, they're a capable lineup. They haven't been hitting, but got talent in that lineup.
Cole has faced Baltimore this year.
Okay.
Twice. His first start of the season, he went 4 innings, 2 runs. And he also pitched in Baltimore 6 innings, 1 run on July 12th.
Oh, so that was right before the All-Star break.
106 pitches, was fully stretched out by then. It was his 5th start of the year.
Okay. Any other positives you want to touch on? Stanton also had a good series. Hit a boom blast.
Boom blast, and the one pitch he took into the gap that was low and away. I don't know if you saw where that pitch location was, but there's only a few human beings on the planet that can get to that pitch, and it was even off the plate, low and away, and he's able to just reach across there and still get the barrel on the ball. It's like when you see the physical feats that he's capable of, you remember how scary of a hitter he can be when he's on, because he can just cover so much goddamn ground in the way that he chops wood with that swing. But yeah, it was good to see him get his timing back and hit a little bit, because I think at the end of the day, what we're looking at for him is Giancarlo Stanton healthy? And sometimes it's hard to tell, because he don't run when he's healthy, he don't run when he's not healthy. When he's not hitting, it could just be a cold streak, because he does that too. But it also could be something going on with his hips or his torso or his hamstring, or you never know. But all signs are pointing towards him looking and feeling healthy. So again, I think they'll give him rest as well coming in. I don't think they'll play him every single day, and we just need him healthy.
He's actually, when you think, because when he sat those couple games in Seattle, you realize without his right-handed bat there to keep that balance going, it actually is kind of a big gap, because you've got Glaber, you go with Glaber, Soto, Judge, Wells, Stanton, Chisholm. Through those spots in the order, you go righty, lefty, righty, lefty. You've got that balance there with all of those hitters.
Yeah, 100%. And especially against the left-handed, I know as JP Sears, the workhorse of the Oakland Athletics, former farm hen of the Yankees, when you have good right-handed pitching, right-handed bats that can actually take advantage of those, Stanton becomes a really huge cog. And that's the thing. The Yankees have been struggling so mightily against left-handed pitching. If the Yankees were to face a left-hander in the playoffs, I think he's a significant piece of that lineup that has to protect and do well, because they've been struggling, and he's one of those guys that can hit left-handed pitching. So they need production out of him. So he's a huge part. And like you've said in the past, you look at the splits and the numbers, he's one of the performers in the postseason. So he's a really important piece. Need him healthy.
Yeah. All right, the playoffs are coming up. Maybe you want to go to one of these final games at Yankee Stadium this season. If you do, you should check out tickets on the Game Time app. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, meaning buying tickets to a baseball game on Game Time is faster and easier than ever. The app has so many great features. I love the flash deals, and if you want to just get a great deal this week, I would recommend checking out the flash deals, because there's going to be some affordable tickets with these final few games at Yankee Stadium. All in pricing, so you can select this option. You're not hit with surprise fees at checkout. And the seat view, you get real pictures from inside the venue, so you make sure you're getting what you want. The app is streamlined and is easy to use. Just a couple taps. Once you find your tickets, a couple taps, and your purchase is complete. The app also allows you to share tickets easily with other people if you're going to the game with friends and family. It also has great tickets for concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more on the Game Time app in addition to baseball games. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less money, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Bronx for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code Bronx for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Last but not least, we all know bills can pile up and unexpected expenses hit you when you least need them to. One service you should not be overpaying for is your wireless provider. That's why I am happy to be telling you today about Mint Mobile. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and hello to Mint Mobile for just $15 per month when you purchase a 3-month plan. And when they say $15 a month, they mean it. What you see is what you get. Plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. You bring your phone number and all your contacts and all your good stuff over with you when you come to Mint Mobile. This is an amazing offer that I know you will love because I know people who have used it and they say it's so simple to use, so affordable, and they ask themselves, why have I not done this before? To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Bronx. Again, mintmobile.com/Bronx. Cut your wireless bill to $15 per month at mintmobile.com/Bronx. $45 upfront payment is required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on a first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabyte on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. 2 negatives. We only have 2 because they swept the series. The first one, we bash Holmes pretty much every episode. I don't know if this is bashing Holmes, but it was another quote unquote big spot on Sunday. He got 1 out and he walked 1 guy and give 1 hit. Weaver had to come in and clean up the 8th inning, getting 2 outs. Then he closes out the 9th inning after the Yankees tacked on an insurance run on Sunday. So Holmes, once again, not able to complete an inning or come through in a situation where it's a high leverage spot.
Yeah. I don't even know what.
Here's the thing I'll say about this, because I was thinking about this as I was seeing him sit there on the bench, because the Yes Network showed a shot of him sitting on the bench, sort of just like you could see him like internalizing what just happened.
He does that all the time though. He's like he looks like he's actually, I think he looks like he's lost a lot. He doesn't show a lot of emotion.
At this point, because he's blown so many saves this year and he's lost his closer job, the Yankees don't give him any margin of error. So the moment they see something not going perfectly, as soon as he hits that 3-batter minimum, he's getting yanked from the game. So he almost doesn't even have an opportunity to get out of that inning regardless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's for a reason.
No, I know it's for a reason, but so at this point, you've got 6 games left in the season. He's at best a medium leverage guy in the playoffs.
They're going to be forced to use him in high leverage positions at some point
but he's going to be their last choice in high leverage
because
spots.
of who's available out there. Again, we've talked about this ad nauseum. It's like you don't have great options coming.
Well, Weaver's been very good.
But Weaver's really the closer right now. Like,
yes, he is the closer. Absolutely,
he's the closer.
He might not be labeled the closer, but he's going to get the save situations.
The highest leverage situation is Luke Weaver right now, no doubt. As far as like you're as a fan and as a coaching staff, you're looking at him as the guy that you need to in those leverage situations.
But here's the thing: Cousins going on the IL. I know they're saying he's going to be back for the playoffs, but is he going to be good? Is he going to be fully ready to go back for the playoffs? Like, who knows? I mean, they're going to put him, they're going to see how he does. I know they said it wasn't a concern before he went on the IL, then he lands on the IL with the pectoral strain and he's going to be back for the playoffs. But that's a potential that would have been if you're ordering the leverage in the bullpen, he would have been ahead of Holmes.
Yeah, you're right. Ahead of Holmes. Yes. But so I think for him, it was more of like the situation, where the Yankees were going into this last week, and the fact that they're most likely going to have time off, and the fact that they could just rest him, because if it's just a roster spot at that point, because if he was out there, he probably wasn't going to pitch anyway, but he was going to still be on the roster spot. So if I'm not worried about him necessarily at this point, because it seems like he is fine. It's just like he just needs some rest. But yeah, he's going to be out there, and he'll be one of the higher leverage guys. But then from there,
Canley,
Hill, matchup dependent.
Whoever is the starter in the bullpen.
But Clay Holmes is going to be right in that mix, and right there with Tommy Kahnle. I'd say he's going to be in there with Tommy Kahnle, depending on situation, depending on who's available, who's pitched. He's going to be in a higher leverage situation because you can't save him to the opportunity where you have to walk into a ninth inning in a 2 run game, tie game at home, something like that, and then all of a sudden Clay Holmes is it's him and other semi good options. Like you just can't put him in that situation.
Well, Boone's going to have to ask himself, do I want to go to a guy that's going to spike sinkers in the dirt, or do I want to go to a guy that only throws changeups?
Well, you have to understand that you have options after him with Holmes if you bring him in earlier in the game, and you don't have options if you just continue to wait with him. So I think you're going to start to see him more in like the 7th inning because there's potential options after that.
Right. Yeah. But like to my point about him, he doesn't even get the leeway of a 4th batter at this point.
No, he hasn't earned it. If he wants to understand why that's happening, he needs to look squarely in the mirror but that's also everybody else needs to look at the fact that he doesn't throw a 4-seam fastball.
No, but that's also for him.
My brain.
For him, that's an impossible spot because he's saying I give up 1 base runner and I'm basically going to be pulled, because that's the fear, right? As soon as you see 1 base runner from Clay Holmes, you're like, oh crap, here we go. And so they're getting a guy up. They're going to get him out of there. So he has to be literally perfect in order to get 3 outs.
He has to show that he can throw strikes. I think that's the biggest thing. If he's walking in, whether it's 1 base runner or he's going deep into counts, and
I guess the context of the situation matters.
100%.
If he's throwing strikes and he just gives up a base hit, then you're like, okay, he's fine. He's just giving up a base hit.
But he's throwing strikes.
But then in the back of your mind, you're like, well, at any moment he could lose his command of this, and then it's gone so quickly.
You're right. He's got a quick hook. That's just the situation. That is where he has put the Yankees coaching staff. They've put him in a situation where if he's not spot on that day, and they can clearly notice that he's going to have a quick hook. If guys get on and it's a close game, he's even given up the home run ball, which is not something that he's done. So yes, you have to look at him different. You have to, and they're right to do that.
We didn't mention Leiter Jr. Where does he line up?
I don't even know. Jesus, man. Like what a disaster of an acquisition he was. He's not even in the conversation. That's where he is.
No, I know. It's we were joking a couple weeks ago. Like, how do you put him on the playoff roster? I think it's a fair question.
It's 100% a fair question. He gives up too many home runs. He's Clay Holmes with more home runs.
Yeah. All right, the second negative, and this is not really a negative, it's just something I wanted to touch on. Hill, I feel like in the first inning has been a little bit iffy. He gave up 2 runs in yesterday's outing, and then if you go back to that Seattle start, he didn't give up runs, but he loaded the bases. He had no command, and Seattle ran themselves out of that inning, and he settled in from there. I think this is just more of a reason why Hill is not a contender for the bullpen, because I think his potential command issues and seemingly takes a little bit of time to get settled into the game is not something you want to bring out of the bullpen.
It's not even just that. It's just the fact that his command can leave the ballpark at any moment. And so that first inning, if you look at the context of that first inning, he gets through 2 batters clean, 2 outs.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he walks 2 guys.
Snowballs, double.
And then gives up what almost was a 3-run home run. And then it's just, he's trying to leave the ball over the plate. But but then he can get a big strikeout. Like his slider was nasty when he was dodging it on the black on the outside of the plate to right-handed batters. So,
and I do think the fact that they have right now Cole, Rodon, Hill lined up, I think that's their 1, 2, 3 starters.
100%. It has to be. And I don't think that conversation went beyond a couple beat writers, Joel Sherman, who was screaming it because he had nothing else to say at that moment, and then some fans who were like, "Oh,
wait, what did Joel Sherman? I didn't see what Sherman said.
He was saying be bold and put Hill in the bullpen. It didn't make sense.
How is that bold?
Because you're taking him out of the rotation and you're putting him in the bullpen, and they think that he's a magic bullet in there, but it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Oh, yeah, this was weeks ago. That's a bad take from Sherman.
Well, this was weeks ago when it first started really coming out there, when the bullpen was was just, scampering in a very bad way. That said, what the Yankees do have, which is great, and we'll talk about this when we know kind of where the chips fall with the playoffs a little bit more, but they have a backup to Luis Gil also if he ends up walking too many guys. If his command is not there in that third start, they're going to have options out of the bullpen to give them depth. And that's the thing, like having Nestor Cortes out there, depending on how they form this roster because of the off days, it's very possible that Clark Schmidt's available out there as well.
Do you I wonder
they have backup options is the point. So if someone is if Gil is all over the place early in the game, they have the ability to do something and then save him, for a potentially next start, because they know even if he's bad in one start with his command, the next one he could lock anybody down.
Do you think they could be game 3 situation of the ALDS and their plan is if Gil gets in trouble, Cortes is going to piggyback him, but what if Gil's in trouble and the game's kind of out of hand? Do you bring in Stroman instead?
If Stroman's on the roster?
Well, that's why I think Stroman's going to be on the roster.
It's going to be a numbers game, especially because of that off day. The off day that we talked about changes the way that you set up your pitching staff.
I think Stroman is mop-up / extra innings insurance.
That's fine, because you can look at the bullpen and you could make a case that's not that difficult to say Stroman is a more significant player than some of the last guys in the bullpen. So
yes.
I got no problem with that, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he was not on it because of the way that the pitching and the schedule lines up for that first series.
I'd be a little surprised, but not like hugely surprised.
Because if the reason why is because of redundancy. At that point, now you have Cortes and Schmidt.
But I think those are different. I just said there's potentially different piggybacking scenarios. If it's a 1-to-1 game and Gil is kind of ton of pitch count getting up there and it's the 4th inning, then you might want to go to Nestor Cortes. But if you're losing 4-0 and Gil is struggling with pitch count and stuff like that, maybe you go to Stroman instead because you don't want to waste Nestor Cortes in a game that's already out of hand.
I know, but the thing is with that, you still would then have 3 starting pitchers in your rotation to do the same thing essentially and that's get length. I know, but you might need to
piggyback. You might be piggybacking both Gil and Schmidt. You might need to piggyback both of those guys if they get starts.
Yeah, but that's the thing with the off day. Is Schmidt is that 4th starter even getting a start? No.
Then that's the
difference.
Absolutely.
That's the big difference.
Absolutely. Okay, final thing we wanted to touch on is what's going to happen with the Rookie of the Year. Got 3 clear candidates, 2 of which are the Yankees, 1 of which is Baltimore. Austin Wells, obviously, Luis Gil, and then Colton Cowser. Now, was Austin Wells Rookie of the Year your actual prediction, or you were just saying?
No, it actually was.
Actually was your prediction.
It's funny because I went back and looked at it. It's he gets the starting catcher position in August, which did happen, and then he wins Rookie of the Year. So yeah, it's a
good call.
Pretty goddamn good bold prediction.
Austin Wells so far on the season, 110 games, 239 batting average, 326 on base, 739 OPS. I feel like he's been better than those numbers, but those are the numbers. 108 OPS plus. His advanced metrics, especially early in the season, indicated, he's going to be a positive offensive player, but the actual numbers were not there. It took a little while. When Trevino went down, Wells kind of took off and has been clearly the number 1 catcher going forward. 108 OPS plus. Cannot diminish anything that he has done as a catcher. It's been very impressive. Colton Cowser for Baltimore, when you just look at the offensive numbers on the surface, are better than Austin Wells. Now you want to discount some of that because Cowser's an outfielder, Wells is a catcher. Completely fair. But Cowser in 148 games, 244 batting average, so a little bit higher. 324 on base, 2 points lower. 767 OPS, decent amount more because he's got 22 home runs. He does strike out a boatload, 163 strikeouts versus 86 strikeouts, but he's got a 121 OPS plus. And I think when it comes down to voting, there's going to be some voters split on, do I vote for Cowser or do I vote for Wells? And then you bring in Luis Gil, who has a starting pitcher over 28 games, is 15-6 with a 3.27 ERA. He has walked a lot of guys, but he struck out 166 in 146 innings. There was a point in May, where we thought he was going to start the All-Star game. Obviously, that went out the window when he struggled after that, but he had one of the best months as a starting pitcher in the month of May. So I think Wells and Cowser are going to steal votes from one another, and then what that's going to cause is Luis Gil's just going to rise up and end up winning.
It's definitely a dogfight between all three of these guys. You could look at Luis Gil and the time that he was out and when he was bad and take that away from him. But any rookie starting pitcher who doesn't go through a significant struggle is just it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often at all. So him being up there, and I agree, the fact that the offensive numbers are where you're really going to line them up against each other, which is Wells and Cowser. Production wise, Cowser's played more games. He's played 38 more games. So you see the numbers in there as far as the 22 home runs versus 13 home runs. If Wells had the same amount of games, or you're probably pretty close as far as production. He's definitely driven in more runs. He's been more of a dependable and an important player on the Yankees, because when he went into that 4 spot, obviously the production from that 4 spot before he went into it was, I think, the worst in baseball, if not one of the worst in baseball, production wise on the Yankees. And then all of a sudden he turned that around. Now, this isn't an MVP race, but that's going to float into some people's minds. If you look at
but that's going to be hard for.
Has been good.
That's hard. Voters don't know that context.
I know.
In a lot of cases,
and we see this in front of us every single day. He's been very good behind the dish, and yeah, he's a catcher. So the catcher position is a more highly regarded position as far as the value of what that is on the diamond. He's working with a pitching staff every day as well. So Colton Cowser is going out there and playing the outfield. And goddamn, does he strike out a lot? He strikes out a lot.
It's a lot of strikeouts.
But Luis Gil, you're right. I think he's right there. It's a dogfight between these three guys, and I think Cowser being an outfielder, I think probably hurts him.
It does hurt him because starting pitcher and catcher are more important positions. So when you're voting and you're like, wow, this guy did it as a catcher, or this guy did it as a rookie starting pitcher, that's just more impressive than doing it as a rookie outfielder. But I still think you're going to get guys who are just going to look at pure offensive numbers and be like, Cowser's been better than Wells, so I'm going to vote for that. Oh, wait, there's this pitcher. I'm going to vote for the pitcher instead.
Well, and also the majority of Wells's numbers have come in the second half. And I think that will be a knock against him as well. If you're looking him against Cowser, Cowser's played the full season. He's played 148 games. So when you're seeing that, then, that I think changes things as well. Luis Gil, though, I mean, he's going to be at 100, most likely at 150 innings plus. Like it's a lot of innings for a rookie in today's world. That's a ton of innings. Started 28, 29 games with a sub 3.5 ERA. Like, I mean,
he missed time, but he's still going to have started 29 games. That's essentially a full season. I mean, 33 starts, I think, is a full season. Like, don't miss any turns. So he missed 4 turns. Yeah, and so I think that goes a long way with him. And you're right, like the dominance of him in the beginning. His peaks, I think, have been higher than Wells' peaks. Yes. Yeah. Well, sure. Because he was the best pitcher in baseball for a bit. But Wells, when you look at his peaks, though, where Wells was very good, but number 4 spot, so essential to what this team was. Yes. But like best pitcher in baseball were Luis Gil's peaks. Yeah. Austin Wells' peaks was never best hitter in baseball. There were some numbers in there when you're looking at him. No, they were. There were some graphics with him and Mike Trout, I think, at some point. Adley Rutschman, definitely. You've seen some things. Very good, but no, not best hitter in baseball. Yeah. All right. That's going to wrap it up. We're going to talk about this Baltimore series on the next episode. Probably talk a lot more about the playoffs. If you guys have mailbag questions related to the playoffs, send those in at info@bronxpinstripes.com. Scenarios, whatever. I don't know. Maybe we'll do some grades. What do you think? We need to do some grades. We need to talk about predictions and where those fleshed out. We'll have some time off with no baseball there. But I'm curious as to what, if everyone agrees, number 1, 2, 3 is it? Are you going Cole, Rodon, Gil? Where do you believe that those next 3 guys with Nestor and Schmidt and Stroman just had a seizure. Where they fall into place with the roster? What did you call Efros? Remember you called Efros
I
something?
don't even remember.
It was like Osborne or something.
Osgood.
Osgood. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Moments of seizure. There's like little mini seizures, I think, that happen in my brain now.
I mean, there's just too many names and things that have been in and out of both
Eventually
of our
it gets there.
brains that it's just
Eventually it gets there. But these, I am curious as to what everybody who's listening thinks as well on that, because you could go a lot of different ways, and we all know when you put too much of a burden of decision making on Aaron Boone, things don't tend to go all that
That's
great.
someone we haven't talked a lot about this year.
I know,
feel
which
like-
is a good thing.
Yeah, but I just feel like we spent last year all summer just crushing Boone, and we're all in agreement on what his deficiencies are. And I don't know that they've gotten better or worse this year. I just think the team is playing better, so we're less annoyed with him. But I still not crazy about him.
I mean, yeah, but when he's not a topic of conversation, the thing is because what we've realized, I believe, as well, is that anything that he does is like, is there a good decision or a bad decision? I don't know. And that's kind of where
In the bullpen, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with a lot of different things, but the accountability is still the number one. I could go on a little rabbit hole. Don't get me into this at the end of the show. He's been fine. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, because that's where he's really going to be, standing out more than anything else.
Well, have any of the Yankees playoff exits been Aaron Boone's fault? I mean, I think you could point to the decision in 2018 to try and stretch CC Sabathia against the Red Sox, but the Yankees also lost that series in 4 games. So realistically, is that Boone's fault? Maybe Boone should have had Luis Severino ready for the start of the game instead of unaware of what time the game started. You could put that on Aaron Boone. Sure.
Yeah. And the coaching staff. It's just a general accountability. But he did move Glaber into the leadoff spot, and Glaber has done.
Did he try
he
him
made
and
him-
Verdugo, and there was just no way you could pick Verdugo?
Well, yeah, no, Glaber won the job. That's what happened. And look, Glaber's been a productive player
Player
since then.
A has hits. Player B does not have hits. Which one should I pick?
But here's the difference. Glaber was not a productive player
No, he
until he
wasn't.
did that. And then when he was in that spot, he became a productive player that's helping the team. I can't say anything against that.
You're making me pick between 2 of my least favorite people in this organization on who deserves credit for that, Gleyber Torres or Aaron Boone.
Well,
Sophie's choice.
it's Glaber Torres, but yeah, because there were not very many good options. But yeah, Boone hasn't done anything for us to destroy him over the last month and a half.
All right. That's going to wrap it up. We'll talk to you again after the Orioles series.